I hope you can see my screen. I'm pretty sure you can.
Yeah, looks very good.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So let's dip right in to catch up. As Oliver just said, last year, Oliver briefly introduced the NFDI4Chem terminology service, and today I would like to provide some updates on its development. To recap, the NFDI4Chem TS is part of the TIB terminology service, which is mainly based on the code of the ontology lookup service from the European Bioinformatics Institute. And it is a project-specific front end that only shows the chemistry-related ontologies that are indexed in the TIB TS. This approach is made possible because we've added the concept of ontology collections to our OLS fork. Currently, the NFDI4Chem TS contains 39 ontologies in total so far, of which 15 are chemistry-specific, and the remaining ones cover concepts needed in general scientific discourse or have some overlap with the chemistry domain. These other ontologies are part of our collection because they are either being reused via imports in the chemistry-specific ontologies, or they could be reused in the future. But some are also indexed to be able to see if certain design patterns can and should be reused, or if we should map them to the chemical-specific ones for better interoperability in the future in certain contexts. So far, the ontology, the NFDI4Chem collection contains only OWL ontologies, but we've added the possibility to also index controlled vocabularies that are published in the SCOS format. Many of the features I'll now shortly present are derived from the OLS codebase, such as the search bar, which allows you to search within all indexed fields. But with our custom React-based front end, we've tweaked the look and feel here and there, hoping to achieve a more productive workflow, like, for instance, being able to hide the omnipresent search bar to get more screen size. Then we have also a faceted search, which allows you to filter the search results by type. For example, if you only want to focus on ontology classes or on relation or individuals. Or you can filter by one or more ontologies, which are sorted by the number of hits to your search query. And then in order to be able to compare the search results rather quickly before having to go to look at a specific ontology in more detail, the general search interface already provides the most important information, such as the type of the search result, like whether it's an ontology, a class, relation or so, its label or the ontology title, its RI, a description or definition, and also which ontology is using the found term, or in which other ontologies reuse that term. The latter being very important when it comes to trying to find out if the term is a good candidate for reuse. When you go to the overview page of an indexed ontology, you can see all the available metadata that comes from the source file itself, some common minimal statistics like number of classes, and it also lets you explore its terms either via a tree or a list view over the tabs. And also you've got tabs that allow you to make additional annotations via the notes feature, or enables the user to read and file GitHub issues directly from the terminology service. I will come back to the latter two features in just a bit. When you go to the adjustable tree view pane, you can navigate the ISA hierarchy of classes and properties. And for classes, the tree view also shows classes that are associated via the part-of relation. And to make the tree traversal a little bit more intuitive, we've added the functionality to use your arrow keys, similar to Protege or many file browsers, to go up and down the hierarchy and expand or collapse. Or you could use the autocomplete text field to just quickly jump to a term that you already know is within the ontology. When you go to the details pane of a term, when you selected a term via the tree view, you can see all the available annotations coming from the source code, as well as the subclass of and equivalent to axioms, but also how this term is used in other logical axioms within the ontology. Or you can quickly access its REST API representation if you are a developer and want to look how the JSON looks. Here you can see an example of the REST API, which can be used in apps or scripts, and which is already done in the NM archive repository or Commotion repository, or which is used by the ontology elements widget, of which we will hear some more things tomorrow. Then we also have a graph view, which is accessible from the term details tab. It is still work in progress, and it is based on the Vis.js library that is also used by OLS. So currently it visualizes the relations between classes, but we've also added the functionality to traverse the ISA hierarchy upwards by double clicking. And we hope that in the future we will be able to use this graph view to better visualize, use design patterns of an ontology. So it's easier to understand design patterns and compare design patterns over multiple ontologies. And for those users who prefer a tabular view over a tree view to get a better grasp of the classes that are contained in an ontology, we've added a list view. Currently, you can only hide columns to be able to focus only on those you're interested in, but we plan in the future to have the ability to sort, resize, and maybe even filter the columns. So it might be easier to see which terms are coming from which namespace, which makes it easier to focus on the native ones and the imported ones. But implementing this is a little bit difficult because we are working with paginated API calls. In order to provide more features that depend upon the identification of a user, you can log into the TS by using your GitHub account or your ORCID account. And with that, it makes it possible, for instance, to file and read GitHub issues. We've integrated GitHub by using its API. So you have the possibility to directly post general issues or file new term requests that are based either on the templates, if there are any in the GitHub repository, and if not, it will default to a standard new term request template that is analog to what you have in the ontology development kit. You can see the open or closed or all issues in the list view to get a first overview, and then you can click on them to get into GitHub for more context, but it's quite easy to this way keep an overview of what's the current status of an ontology. And by filing issues directly from the TS, we believe that making contributions a little bit more easy. Yep. With regard to the notes feature, which we've added, I'd like to say that you can add notes on the ontology level or on the term level. And this feature might be helpful for all those ontologies that are not hosted publicly on GitHub and can thus be used to, basically file issues sort of in terms of notes. But also you can write notes to yourself, to logged in users, or to the general public. You can specify how you want to share that. And this adds the possibility to share either personal insights with yourself or with others, or add links to existing external documentation, which might not be present in the source code and might be very hard to find otherwise, because you have to trace them down going through diverse issues spread over multiple GitHub repositories. Yeah, and looking at the time, I have 3 minutes, so what can possibly go wrong? I would like to just briefly demonstrate you the terminology service. Open window. So, what I've prepared is this. On the one hand side, we've got the chemical methods ontology, and when it's loading, looking specifically on the term assay output. And when I looked into that for reusing it for the vibrational spectroscopy ontology, I saw the subclass of axiom, and also more importantly, this equivalent to axiom. And I thought like, this sounds familiar to me looking at IAO in previously. And when you look at IAO measurement datum and compare the descriptions or the definitions, we call them descriptions here, you can see that they're basically referring to a similar thing. Both have a data item as superclass, and on the IAO measurement datum, we also have this editor node annotation. So for me, the question was, aren't these two the same things? So I filed a GitHub issue for both, one first in the CHMO tracker, but also in the IAO tracker, which you can see here, and which you can see here. So I can track the status of this, and I can tell you if you click on that link, you will see that IAO agrees. Yeah, this seems to be a good idea to add this equivalent to axiom, and then this would mean to maybe obsolete assay output in CHMO. And if we wanted to communicate this, we would go back to here, and we could simply add a note once I've logged in, of course. 1 minute should be doable. Just to quickly demonstrate you that I can file a note here. Say output. I should have logged in earlier. But here you can see I can quickly jump to what I want. Give me some space. And add a note. Maybe open that issue to link to it, and then maybe shared with the public. Selecting the class should be obsoleted once changes in IO are done. I'm doing this live here, could be better. See also this link. Let's make a hyperlink. Do we open up a new tab? Submit, done. Of course, we could add a little bit more context in the text, but now if we make this a little bit bigger, we could communicate this, or we have communicated this. In here. Now I'm in the notes list. I should go back to the class view, and here you can see the note is happening in here. Yeah, and with this, I'm done with my time. So I will quit sharing my screen. Please feel free to use the terminology service to try it out, experiment with it, and get back to us with any feedback you will have so we can improve it.